For a challenge, I wanted to see if I can survive for 100 days in Project Zomboid, but to complicate things, I set loot to ridiculously rare and zombie numbers to insane. I started in winter time, there was no food to be found, and resources were scarcer than ever. But to fight this, I created a character so powerful they got every single positive trait. I also had two side goals. First one was to kill 10,000 zombies before going to Louisville. Second one was to rebuild the large downtown police station in Louisville that somehow went up in flames, and then hold it against insane hordes in that city. Now sit back, crack open a cold one, and join me on this crazy adventure. Here's how it happened. On day 1, I spawned in the middle of nowhere. I searched my starting house, finding absolutely nothing, but there was a generator in the shed. Moving on in search of civilization, I put my spiked baseball bat to good use on zombie skulls. In the next house, I found a water bottle, and in another one, a hand torch. Adding to basic necessities, I found a zombie with a duffel bag, and then I found one pierced by katana. I reached 100 zombie kills before spending the night in a farmhouse, and with a katana on my first day, I was off to a great start. On day 2, I cooked a delicious beef jerky and beer stew for breakfast because this is America, and then I moved on. I found an empty gas can in a gas station and spent the day searching for a working car I could hotwire. In the evening, I cleared out an army surplus store and I found a shotgun and some ammo. Day 3 was the first snowy day, so I stashed my stuff in the army surplus store and then I went dumpster diving. I discovered that trash containers are a valuable source of fresh food now that all the hobos began craving brains. I found a working taxi and drove around to siphon more gas from cars with little luck. I found an antique spear in a barn and then I remembered I'm a silly Billy, and there was a generator in a shed outside my spawn house, so I went back to retrieve it. On day 4, I decided to leave town. I drove to a gas station and hunting store further north where I put my new spear to good use, and reached level 5 in spears. Hammer was on top of my list of tools I needed, and luckily I found one in the gas station. I found some ammo and an SKS rifle in the hunting store, and then I went further east to a general goods store. I found a beautiful fire truck parked outside, but unfortunately it had an empty battery. I cleared out the area of zombies, reaching over 500 zombie kills, and then I made the store my new home for the next few days. On day 5 I went to Riverside and found a car battery for my fire truck on the road. I checked the bar but it was empty. Clearly the alcoholics had a field day when the apocalypse happened. I went further into Riverside to check a police station. I shot a pistol I found to lure zombies into the police station so I could loot a key for the armory, which turned out to be empty. But my grave robber trade came to rescue again, and I found a sledgehammer on a zombie corpse, another important check mark on my tool list. After spending the night in the police station, I fought my way through Riverside to reach the hardware store. Constant house alarms didn't make things easy for me, but I realized one of my trades made crowbars even better, and I put one to good use to achieve my first 1000 zombie kills. I was rewarded for my efforts with a box of nails. Walkie-talkie I found told me a blizzard was imminent, and I got caught in it while driving home. I installed a new battery in the fire truck and left it overnight to charge it. Blizzard continued on day 7, so I decided not to go far and went to explore nearby farmhouses. I found a level 3 foraging book and then a helicopter showed up, but it took me a while to even hear it due to the loud storm. I wanted to make a pun about that wind here, but it really blows. Since I was in the middle of nowhere, I decided to stay there and fight off the zombies that followed the heli. I returned home in the evening and to celebrate I cooked a delicious roast. On day 8 the blizzard was still raging, so I decided to stay at home. I spent my time repairing the base, barricading and installing new windows to keep the temperature up in my bedroom. I went to the gas station nearby and broke a window I was trying to grab, and being a silly Billy, I accidentally jumped through, so I got a scratch I needed to heal. Taking things easy, I then spent the evening reading the foraging book I found the previous day. The blizzard finally ended overnight, so I went to the industrial area outside Riverside on day 9. I discovered a wrench in a car, which was another important tool scratched off my list. Then I used a pistol to attract a large crowd of zombies, and once again put my crowbar to good use. I reached 1500 zombie kills, and as a reward I found a katana on a zombie. In the factory I found a shovel and 2 boxes of nails. I also found a saw. I finished the lucky day by finding a packer bag that can hold 65 weight, which became my go-to bag for the whole playthrough. On day 10 I went back to the factory, using a machete this time to start leveling up my long blade skill. I got lucky and found an extra machete and also a garden fork. The last storage area I checked had a sweet antique leather jacket, so I equipped that. I was now done with the factory, but I still had some time, so I went to check the storage units nearby, where I found an antique armor vest. Clearly, day 10 was the antique collector day. On day 11, it was time I went back to Riverside proper, which was full of roaming zombies due to constant house alarms. I found a couple of boxes of ammo and some guns in the army surplus store. After looting that, I drove to the firefighter station nearby. There were so many zombies there, my game actually crashed. And when I restarted, it was 5 AM again, which meant I went back in time for like 8 hours. But that didn't stop me, so I went to clear the fire station where I actually reached 2,000 zombie kills. Next, I cleared the storage units at the nearby gas station where I found a wood axe and stole a water dispenser. But at this point, I was feeling very tired, so I drove back home. And you know who else is very tired? Of me asking people to subscribe? My viewers, so subscribe now and I promise I'll never ask you again. Day 12 was to be my final day in Riverside, so I grabbed a shotgun and drove to town. I took on large groups of zombies and reached over 2,500 kills before I ran out of shotgun shells. I found another katana on a zombie and decided to use it for the first time, which got me to level 6 in long blade. I then went to the downtown area to loot a bookstore where I found a carpentry level 3 book and 2 more machetes on the zombies. On day 13 it was time I said my goodbyes to the general store that's been my home for the last week. I packed everything I owned into my fire truck and then drove towards West Point. I found a jack on the road, which is the last tool I was still missing. I arrived outside of West Point in the evening, but I decided against going into the town during the night, so I stopped at a farm on the outskirts and spent the night there. On day 14, I continued my journey through West Point to reach a gas station on the other side. Unfortunately, my fire truck was ruined in the process by the thousands of zombies on the roads. At the new gas station, I found a second sledgehammer, and then I spent the whole day clearing zombies around the area, and I even used a pistol to attract them away. I reached 3,000 kills and level 7 in long blade after I found another katana on a zombie. In the evening, I sorted everything I brought with me into storage. On day 15, I spent the morning clearing the surrounding area of zombies and reached level 7 in long blunt. In the afternoon, I focused on securing the gas station. I built a front door and barricaded the ground level windows. I also built a door to my new bedroom upstairs. I wished I had a fireplace because then I could sleep like a log. I decided to explore a bit on day 16. I went to a factory deeper in town and I found 2 normal axes and an antique axe there. I continued to explore nearby buildings and found 2 more katanas and zombies, and I reached level 6 in maintenance. I also got a water dispenser and crossed 4,000 zombie kills. When I returned home, I realized that zombies had broken my doors and windows again, so I repaired them and barricaded the back windows with metal sheets. I woke up on day 17 realizing I got the Desensitized perk overnight, which meant I finally became a proper killing machine, so I spent the whole day clearing the trailer park of zombies, exploring the trailers and looting them for food. I found a magazine that taught me how to build a basement. I also finally found a can opener, which was a big bonus as most of my food was canned, and becoming a vegetarian by foraging would just be a huge mistake. I started day 18 by chopping down trees to make planks and used them to build my new basement, which I could use as a hiding spot when the zombies would be too mean to me. Next, I ventured into town, armed with a pistol that I used to pull a lot of zombies out of nearby buildings, and then proceeded to clear the streets. In the end, I reached 5,000 kills, halfway to my first major goal. On day 19, I spent the morning searching for parts for my truck. I found a new hood and successfully replaced the windshield. At this point, the road to town was so full of corpses and blood spatter, the game started lagging, which continued to be an issue for my whole stay in West Point. I pushed further into town than ever before, finding another katana on a zombie, and I reached level 8 in blunt. I then spent the evening reading level 3 carpentry book. Day 20 was another day where I pushed deeper into West Point. I fought a lot of zombies to get access to storage units, which in the end proved to be pretty empty, besides a propane tank. I leveled up to 7 in spear and I found yet another katana on a zombie corpse as a celebration for reaching 6,000 kills. On day 21, I went to the trailer park with plan to get a new window because my bedroom window was broken. I realized the game won't let me place the window from the inside for some reason, so I ended up destroying a wall so I could do it from the outside, which made the front of my house look much worse, but at least I wasn't freezing my ass overnight anymore. Day 22 was an eventful one. In order to level up tailoring skill, I started the day by ripping apart zombie clothing on the street. I then spent time leveling up tailoring all the way to level 4, at which point I realized I didn't have the next book I needed. So I made a Molotov cocktail and went into town to set a horde of zombies on fire. I carried them around so they burned down a couple of buildings I already looted, just because I'm a little pyromaniac and I like to watch the world burn. I killed plenty of zombies and as a reward I found a pipe bomb on a corpse for future burnings. On day 23 I went to the river to clean some dirty denim strips, but because I'm a silly Billy I forgot the river water isn't suitable for cleaning, so I then went to a nearby housing area to find fresh water and I cleaned the strips I had gathered. It was still early in the morning, so I went and explored the place, mainly looking for food. I also found a wood axe in one garage and 2 industrial propane tanks in another. In the evening I used the milk I found to make pancakes, also known as the food of gods. On day 24 I went to the mall complex with a goal to find a bookstore. I'm not a big fan of shopping centers because when you've seen one, you've seen a mall. I reached 7,000 kills kills trying to get in, and my efforts were repaid as I found a tailoring level 3 book there. On my trip back, I stopped at a housing complex and found Hotties magazine, which I decided to bring back home because the apocalypse is a very lonely time. I also found a sick Humvee which unfortunately had an empty battery, and decided to bring back a crappy car to train my mechanics skill. In the evening, I read my new tailoring book. On day 25, I went back to the Humvee and installed a fresh battery. I then brought the Humvee back to my home. I decided to turn the ground floor into a garage and broke apart the whole place to bring in the 3 cars. However, I didn't quite reach level 6 in carpentry, so I couldn't build a double door. I went to the trailer park on day 26 and I got carpentry to level 6 by disassembling furniture. On my way home, I stole a TV. I then built large doors for my garage and spent the day working on my mechanics, reaching level 3. In the evening, I focused on tailoring and reached level 5 in that skill. I spent day 27 looting the housing area and clearing it of zombies. I found a mechanics level 3 book and a propane tank, which I brought back home, along with a couple of posters to make my garage look prettier. I also managed to replace a broken window on my fire truck. Day 28 meant it was now February, and I spent the morning gathering denim strips from zombie corpses on the road. In the afternoon, I again spent some time working on mechanics skill and installed a green and red light outside because in zombie apocalypse every day can be Christmas if I say so. I then put my TV on a table I stole. I spent the evening replacing ripped shapes with denim strips in my clothing and finally reached level 6 in tailoring. On day 29, I went back to the housing area to loot it fully. I found a military police brassard on a zombie and equipped it, but for some reason, zombies still refused to respect my authority. I also found an M14 and an R788 rifle, along with more ammo. When I got back home, I added some posters and a doormat to my collection. I spent the morning of day 30 leveling up mechanics to level 4. I then went deeper into the city towards a gas station and a car repair shop. I reached 8,000 zombie kills on the way. However, I had to leave due to the house alarms moving a high number of zombies around again. Fighting them brought me to level 7 in maintenance and level 9 in long blunt. I spent the evening reading and finished mechanics 3 book and started in carpentry 4. Day 31 sucked. In the morning I realized that my mechanics skill has broken and lost the multiplayer XP bonus from the book I read. I then noticed that all my skills have negative experience points. I gave up on mechanics for the moment and went to chop down several trees, and then I went to a trailer park to dismantle wooden structures. I knew that to push through the 2 levels of mechanics without a boost, I'd need to work on many cars, so then decided to start extending my garage, which finally brought my carpentry XP back to positive. So in the evening I finished reading the carpentry level 4 book. On day 32 I went back to the trailer park to dismantle more wooden furniture, and I finally reached level 7 in carpentry. During my scavenging I found an electrician level 1 book that I've not had before. I started working on my garage, building double doors and level 3 walls. I also built stairs and began working on the roof. The roof wasn't the best, but it was up there. I woke up from the nightmare on day 33 and decided to go to town to find a new car I could work on. I spent the day leveling up my electrician skill by dismantling digital watches found on zombies. I found so many I could make a belt out of them, but that would be a big waste of time. I also stopped by a farm shop and brought back 2 rain collectors and a composter in case this winter ever ended and I could do some farming. I added some posters and an air conditioner to my garage. I also brought back a little Spiffo plushie because the little guy needed some love. On day 34 I went back to the town to loot and explore. My first stop was a supermarket where I found some ice cream, a sweet treat to keep my weight up. Then I stumbled upon a barricaded gun store, but it didn't have a sledgehammer with me. Next I found a fire station, but while it was full of zombies, it was pretty empty of loot. Throughout the day I also worked on leveling up my electrician skill by dismantling watches, and I finally reached level 2. To end the day, I brought back another car to my base to work on mechanics. I started day 35 by building a connection from the garage to the main house, and finished the roof of the garage in the morning, which brought me to level 8 in carpentry. I then went back to town to break into the gun store. I reached 9,000 kills and found some magazines inside the store. In the evening I built the floors of the garage and brought in the 2 cars. I then walked back to the factory and brought home a van to finish my car collection. On day 36 I set out for an unexplored part of the town. I found a giant mall in the factory and used it to smash zombies along the way. I then went to nearby houses and started picking up furniture from my basement. I took a rug, a couch and grabbed a china cabinet. Back home I began furnishing my basement and realized I could use a car battery to power the basement. I stole one from a mechanic's training car and turned on the power. I started day 37 by heading back to the housing complex I had looted the day before. My goal was to find another couch, but first I grabbed some birchwood flooring to use in the basement. I searched through several houses before I finally found the couch I was looking for. Once back home, I removed the old floor in the basement and replaced it with a new birchwood. By the end of the day, the basement was fully furnished and looking great. On day 38, I set out with the goal of achieving my first major objective, 10,000 kills. I took my shotgun and started clearing out zombies as I went. I went through the storage facility and then made my way to housing complex, where I eventually ran out of ammo, so I had to finish the final 100 kills with my trusty maul. But I did it. I killed 10,000 zombies and I decided this was my last day in West Point. Now if you're a Project Zomboid enjoyer are like me, you can watch everything that has happened up to this point in a 10-part Let's Play series. Link will be down below. Day 39 was a big milestone on my journey. I set out for Louisville in my Humvee, leaving most of my belongings behind. It was time for a new start. I encountered several obstacles along the way. I almost got stuck just before reaching the railroad bridge out of West Point, and heavy fog and a large number of zombies made it difficult to continue in my Humvee, which took a lot of damage on the road. I then walked to Louisville, reaching level 10 in Blunt along the way before breaking through the fence. I searched the military area for a car, but all I found was a couple of generators. But when night set in, I got lucky and I found a working car outside a farmhouse where I spent the night. Before going to Louisville, I also removed the ultra gore settings for blood and set the corpse despawn to 48 hours in expectation of many zombies in the big city. On day 40, I set out towards the downtown police station deep in the city, but first I went to retrieve 2 generators I passed the day before. I then drove into the city, passing 6 house alarms, and cleared the train station. I was planning to base here before pushing deeper, but since it was still early in the day, I decided to try my luck. However, just moments after, I was forced to abandon my car to escape a horde. But this was Louisville, and the horde kept on getting bigger, so I decided to go full pyromaniac and threw a pipe bomb at them. I spent the whole afternoon and deep into the night fighting thousands of burning zombies on my way towards the police station. In the end, thousands have died, and I found a safe haven for the night. I started day 41 by securing my new home. I placed multiple sheet ropes and took out the stairs with a sledgehammer. I then stored all my important things like books, food, and extra weapons in my bedroom. Next, I went out to clear the busy streets all the way to the police station, fighting throughout the whole day to the point I started to feel queasy from all the corpses and decided to take things easy. On day 42, I set out to try and gain access to the back of the police station. I spent half the day clearing the area and fighting off zombies, to the point I started to feel queasy again from all the corpses around. I tried to push into the station, but the amount of zombies was just too large, so I tactically retreated back to my safe house. Going through my supplies, I realized my food reserves were very low and I needed to find some food soon. On day 43, I woke up to find my house on fire. I quickly gathered my belongings, but I panicked and I missed some tools and all my boxes of nails like the silly billy I was. When the fire died down, I returned to find that everything was gone. Homeless, I continued clearing the back of the police station, and I dismantled some furniture to get the nails I needed, so I could add sheet ropes. I then destroyed the stairs because I don't trust them. They're always up to something. Soon after, I realized that the main police station was full of fire zombies, and the whole place was up in flames. To cut off their access from the main building to the back of the police station, I took out the sky bridge and killed all roaming fire zombies before they could reach my new temporary home, hoping it would not end like the last. In the morning of day 44, I went to nearby houses to search for food and books, but because I'm a hobo, I actually found most of the useful stuff in the dumpsters. I was lucky though, and I found a level 1 metalworking book which I was still missing. In the afternoon, I checked out the police station, just to notice the raging inferno continued to consume it. I then dismantled some furniture for nails and planks and used it to build doors for a new home, where I then read the book I found before going to sleep. On day 45, I set out towards the river mansions, trying to find a car along the way. They all had dead batteries until I finally stumbled upon a working van at the distillery. I stole it and drove the rest of the way to the mansions, where I grabbed a grill and brought it back to my new home. I continued to dismantle more furniture and added a ladder for easy access. In the evening, I cooked a delicious stir fry on my new grill, which got me to cooking level 5. I started day 46 by checking the burned police station and the adjacent prison. I didn't hold much hope, but I was still sad when I learned the armory did not survive the fire. I then continued to follow the fire zombies deeper into the city, as the fire was still spreading. Vengeance was on my mind, and only after a week in Louisville, I've now reached 20,000 kills. In the evening, I spent some time on inventory management and read the level 5 carpentry book. On day 47, I decided that my new major goal would be to rebuild the police station, or at least a big part of the main building. I started by breaking down the burned walls and clearing away the ash. I then headed to the nearby park to chop down trees for building materials. The main problem I encountered though was a shortage of nails, as I knew I'd need thousands to rebuild the place. I started day 48 with a drive to the Amazon warehouse. I knew if there were nails to be found in Louisville, it would be there. I was met with a huge horde of zombies outside of the building and broke a katana, killing them all. I managed to find seeds, a rifle, and a sack of fresh food, but no nails. So I decided to drive to a hardware store deeper in the city, which proved to be a stupid idea because the zombie numbers became too much for my van to handle, and I was forced to abandon it and flee. It took me the rest of the day to get back home on foot through zombie-infested streets, a day wasted and no nails. On day 49, I went to retrieve the car and generators I had left behind on day 40. I abused the zombies that were still on fire to burn down a horde that was guarding my car. A lot of zombies jumped at this last chance for a smoking hot body. I then drove back and placed one generator next to my home and the other at a nearby gas station. I also tried to find trash food there to gain weight, as I was only at 73 kilos. In the evening, I attempted to cook stir fry in the microwave, but I almost set the place on fire. I quickly put out the fire and blamed the microwave, tossing it out. Surely, the fact I was using an iron pan to make the stir fry had nothing to do with the fire. On day 50, I decided to walk into town to reclaim the van I left behind. There were still many zombies on fire, but I slowly dealt with them, bringing my total kill count to 24,000 and my spear to level 9. I looted the hardware store and finally found 2 boxes of nails. I also found an extra sledgehammer. I brought the van and the juicy loot back home. On day 51, I spent the entire morning rebuilding the walls of the police station, but like a silly Billy, I forgot to record it. In the evening, I chopped down more trees to get the logs I needed. I finally finished with the last wooden frames for the outer walls around midnight, realizing I used a box and a half of 2 boxes of nails I found, which meant I still had a big problem that I couldn't quite nail down. I spent the morning of day 52 searching for new flooring for my police station. I added some white tiles, which made it much easier to see inside. I then started leveling up my metalworking skill, and I reached level 2 by the evening. I also went to find some more propane in the nearby storage area, but only managed to find 1 propane torch on a zombie corpse. I went to the library on day 53 to search for level 2 metalworking book I was missing. I searched the ground level but couldn't find it, but I got lucky upstairs and finally found it, but not the level 4 tailoring book I've been looking for since leaving West Point. I read my new book in the evening so I could start dismantling more metal stuff the next day. At this point, I added the blacksmithing mod. I knew I'd need something special to be able to make all the nails I'd need for the police station, and that mod seemed like a no-brainer. But I did not spend day 54 learning blacksmithing. No, I spent it fighting zombies in a closed community nearby in search of propane. I was actually able to find 2 boxes of nails and 2 sticks of butter in the houses nearby, so that was a great haul, but no propane. I also reached electrical level 3 by dismantling digital watches, which was quite time consuming. On day 55, I decided to drive to the university library in search of blacksmithing books, but it turned out there were still fire zombies around, and I had to kite them away from the library so they wouldn't set it on fire. After breaking into the library, I found all 5 blacksmithing books I was looking for and a bunch of magazines. I also finally found that tailoring level 4 book. Back home, I read all of the magazines and I finished the day by reading the first smithing book as well. Day 56 was the first day of March. I drove to Riverside Mansions in search of propane and I found 2 propane tanks there. I left my car behind and snuck on foot to the entrance of Louisville, where I found 4 more propane tanks, and most importantly, a metal barrel I needed for blacksmithing, which I brought back home. I then spent the evening foraging for stones to build a furnace. I spent the morning of day 57 foraging for the remaining stones I needed. The heavy fog meant any stones out there would be easily missed, but in the end, I still got my foraging skill to level 5 and found all 15 stones. I built a furnace out of stones in the police station and burned logs in the metal drum to get charcoal fuel. I got 2 stacks of charcoal and fired up the furnace to melt metal scraps overnight. I woke up to 6 workable iron in my furnace on day 58 and used it to build an anvil. At that point, I realized that I needed level 3 in blacksmithing to make nails, which meant there was a lot of work ahead. I made smithing tongs I needed for smithing and then went on to make iron ingots from the workable iron. In the afternoon, I went to dismantle fences around to gather more metal to smelt. By the evening, I had reached level 3 in metalworking, and for the first time this winter, the rain came, and I was thrilled to see the green again. I melted plenty of metal and used it to make basic metal walls outside, which brought me to level 4 in metalworking, so I spent the evening reading the level 3 metalworking book. On day 59, I woke up to 13 workable iron, which I used to make iron ingots in order to level up my smithing. I was able to reach level 1, then smelted all the ingots back into the workable iron. I also built stairs to the roof so I could make a small roof garden now that the snow started disappearing, and continued dismantling more metal objects to gather materials. I spent the morning of day 60 working on smithing and I got it to level 2. I then started the melting process again and went to read the next smithing book in the meantime. In the afternoon, I reached level 3 in smithing after making some more ingots, which meant I could now make small metal sheets and nails. I made a bunch of sheets then turned them into proper metal sheets, which got me to level 5 in metalworking. On day 61, I spent the morning chopping trees. I made some planks and built floors in the forage room. I also brought a generator over to the station to provide some light, and I stole a lamp from one of the houses nearby to be able to actually see inside. Finally, I used my newfound smithing skills and made 200 nails for my rebuild project. I started day 62 building more walls and floors in the police station. I then decided it was time to build a bedroom upstairs to make the station truly mine. Doing that brought my carpentry skill to level 10, making me a true god amongst men, or in this case, zombies. To make it easier to bring my belongings over, I then reconnected the sky bridge to the back of the police station, but wasn't quite ready to spend the night in my new bedroom yet. On day 63, I went to the houses nearby to find some furniture and floors for a new home. I found a bed, some carpets, nice floors, a TV, a painting, and a lamp. It took me 2 runs to bring everything back, but when I finished furnishing my bedroom, I was very satisfied with how it looked. I then started bringing over my meds, books, and clothes and spent my first night in the cozy new bedroom. On day 64, I started working on the armory. I spent the morning welding metal walls on the outside, and then Then I took the van to the fire station nearby and dismantled some metal furniture. I also grabbed a couple of metal shelves for the armory, and when those were installed I started bringing all my weapons over. When I cooked my dinner in the evening, I reached cooking level 6. At this point I was running quite low on propane and still had many walls to build. I remembered I had an industrial tank stored back at my West Point base, but driving back there would be a suicide. But I thought of a plan on how to clear the roads to the entrance of Louisville, so I drove to the mansions again on day 65. I decided to check every single garage for propane tanks on my way, but needless to say, garages were all empty, although I did find one tank and a random zombie. I decided to spend the night at the last mansion in the row before I continued my way in the morning. Day 66 was probably the most action-packed in the whole 100 days journey. My plan was to kill as many zombies as I could on the roads to Louisville entrance, and the giant zombie-infested hospital seemed like the best place to start. So in the morning I set out towards the hospital. I started by shooting my pistol outside to get their attention, and then I threw my pipe bomb. Next I did the stupidest thing I've done the whole playthrough. I ran through the hospital with burning zombies chasing after me. I thought I'm gonna die on at least a couple occasions. All I can say is that I have a heart of a lion and a lifetime ban from Louisville Zoo. To reward myself for surviving, I confused zombies to the point where they just stood watching me eat my lunch, slowly burning to ash, which netted me 1,000 kills in just one in-game hour. I spent the whole day kiting fire zombies around, and by the end of the day my kill count had gone from 28 to 33,000. I also maxed out my spear skill. At the end of the day I quietly sneaked my way back to the mansions to get some well-deserved rest. I walked back towards the car in the morning of day 67, clearing the road of zombies as I went. I found lots of zombies still on fire and spent the day kiting and killing them again. I ended the day up to almost 35,000 kills and got to level 9 in Long Blade. As I drove back home in the evening, I reflected on this little excursion which cost me 3 katanas and 3 kilos in weight, but it was all worth it, getting 7,000 kills. That made the roads out of Louisville at least a bit clearer, so I decided to drive back to the West Point on day 68. But first I replaced the hood of my car because I knew there'd still be a lot of speed bumps on the way. I made it to Louisville entrance with no real problems and once again replaced my car's hood. Then it was smooth sailing back to the West Point base. I was hit with a pan of nostalgia seeing that place after a whole month again and decided to spend the night. I collected 1 industrial propane tank and 3 small ones, which made the whole trip well worth it. I then spent the evening leveling up my artillery skill using leather strips. I spent day 69 driving back to Louisville. On the way I had a close call when I flipped my truck for a second, which added to all the zombie damage, so my truck ended with 0% hood and damaged engine. Despite this small bump, I still managed to make the most out of my day melting down fences for metal scraps. I fired up the furnace and spent the day making 73 small metal sheets. On day 70 I was back to work. I started by turning the small metal sheets into bigger ones and used them to make a couple of metal walls, which brought my metalworking up to level 6. I then headed out to dismantle more fences and other metal items, which I then melted and made into even more small metal sheets, which brought my smithing skill to level 4. Hitting 2 skill milestones in a day meant I spent the rest of the day reading the metalworking level 4 and smithing level 3 books. I wanted to build rain collectors on the roof of the police station on day 71, but I realized I only had 2 garbage bags and you need 4 to make 1. So I went dumpster diving again. One would think garbage bags would be easy to find, but I had to fight many a zombie and check many a trash can before I found 6 extra bags. I also cleared zombies at a prime wood chopping spot nearby in the process, and I found a very good quality ambulance parked behind some stores. Unfortunately it had an empty battery, but I noted it on my map for later. On day 72 I built 2 rain collector barrels and a composter on the roof. I also gathered some soil nearby and placed it down next to what I built earlier, and then planted cabbages and some broccoli so that I could grow my own food. I thought it would be smart to make a kitchen nearby, so I started building walls for it near my new bedroom. I brought over a fridge and some counters and then transferred all the food I had stored in the back of the police station to my new kitchen. Finally I started up the generator to power the fridge and keep my products fresh. I was now officially a resident of the police station. I spent day 73 searching houses for more kitchen utilities. I managed to find some additional counters and an oven and a couple other smaller things. I furnished the kitchen and then I plumbed both of the kitchen sinks, so now I had a fresh running water in my kitchen, supplied by the barrels I built the day before. I started day 74 by reading the cooking level 4 book. I then went back to the nearby houses to get some flooring for the kitchen. I also took the opportunity to steal a window. I installed the flooring and the window and then drove back to get more of it because I decided in the middle of the project to switch the tiles I wanted to use. I also brought back a couple of outdoor lamps because the night was dark and full of terrors, and so was my station. I started day 75 by making my way to an army surplus store. I cleared my path slowly, taking out all the zombies on my way there. Once I arrived, I quickly looted the place. I was lucky enough to find some ammo, a couple of magazines and an AK-47. But my luck didn't stop there, as I also found 2 pairs of night vision goggles, which were insanely cool. I was also able to bring back a new truck loaded with my loot. Day 76 was mind-numbingly boring. I started it by breaking the upstairs floors to remove access to my station from the prison roof. It was a tedious task, but nowhere near as tedious as clearing ashes on the ground floor, which took the rest of my day. I promised myself I'll never burn anything ever again in Project Zomboid. On day 77 I headed to the junction I cleared a couple of days ago to chop some trees. I also decided to start leveling up my axe skill, which was the lowest of my two-handed weapon skills. I made 2 trips and brought back a total of 27 stacks of 4 logs, which might sound like a lot, but it was just a drop in the bucket compared to what I needed to rebuild the station. I spent the evening sawing them into planks and building wall frames and floors. I started day 78 by building the walls and floors of my armory and garage. I then went back to melting fences for metal. I managed to reach level 7 in metalworking, which meant I was only 1 level away from being able to make the good metal walls. I gathered 30 metal bars that I set to melt in the furnace overnight. Those turned into 19 workable iron bars in the morning of day 79, but I put them into storage and set out to repurpose building in the town to see if I could find any useful items left behind by the military. It turned out there were still fire zombies around, and I decided to put my antique axe to good use, reaching level 5 in axe skill soon after. Alas, despite searching the building thoroughly, I could only find some military clothes, so instead of guns, I brought back metal lockers to add to my garage. I went back on day 80 because I wanted the white tiles for my armory. Of course, the zombies had another idea and set the building on fire. Luckily, I was able to quickly kill the fire zombies and the fire was contained. I was able to make 2 runs to get all the tiles I needed and then spend the rest of the day placing all the tiles in the armory, which now looked really cool. Clearing all those zombies also brought my axe skill to level 6. On the morning of day 81, I went to check on my little cabbage and broccoli farm and noticed my cabbages were ahead. I then continued building floors in the garage, and when I was done, I went to town to get beige tiles. Not my favorite color, but when I finished the floors in the garage, it turned out pretty nice. I also built a couple more metal outer walls, but I noticed that my propane supply was running low once again. On day 82, I looted a hidden gun store nearby and got my hands on some ammo and a TAC-9 pistol. I also recovered the ambulance I had found a while back. Due to my constant propane shortage, I decided to install a mod that allowed me to get propane at the gas stations, and I went to fill 1 tank to test it. Worked like a charm, which meant I finally had the supply I needed. I also built a metal workbench and continued melting fences, gathering 26 metal bars. I woke up to 16 workable iron on day 83. I spent the morning making small metal sheets via smithing and then turned them into bigger ones with propane torches for metalworking XP. Of course, I could have made the big ones with smithing as well, but I really wanted to get to level 8 in metalworking, which I finally succeeded after an afternoon of melting even more fences and gathering 31 metal bars for the furnace. That meant I could finally build and upgrade my metal walls to level 2. I woke up on day 84 and decided to drive to a video store in search of mechanics videotapes, because my mechanics skill was still stuck at level 4. The journey wasn't easy as I had to ditch my car and kite away a horde of zombies. I really wished I had a pipe bomb with me at that point despite my earlier promise. After recovering the car, I reached the video store and had to fight a big battle only to find it completely empty. I did, however, grab a couple of beers and a bottle of bourbon from the liquor store nearby, so the day wasn't a complete waste. When I got back home, I spent the evening reading the final metalworking book. Day 85 was fully dedicated to metalworking. I went to a housing complex nearby to melt fridges, sinks, ovens and toilets. I collected a ton of metal bars and those I then melted in the furnace, which gave me 43 workable iron. But dismantling all those appliances also gave me 28 small and 32 normal metal sheets, a proper treasure haul. On day 86, I woke up to my first batch of cabbages being ready to harvest. I gathered some, which got my farming skill to level 2. I then read the next book before gathering the rest, which got me to level 3 in farming. In total, I gathered 100 cabbages and planted a new stock. I then went into town to search for more meaty food, and I was able to find beef jerky and a sausage at a local butcher shop, and I promised myself to never let anyone convince me again that sausages are just the worst. On my way back, I came across a police vehicle and decided to bring it back to my station, even though I did not have a working battery. I had to fight for it, which brought my axe skill to level 7. I spent the evening turning all my small metal sheets and workable iron into larger sheets, ready to build the walls. On day 87, I spent the morning building outer metal walls around my station, but my propane supplies ran out, so I went to the gas station to refill the tanks. In the afternoon, I went to the apartments to gather more metal, which brought my metalworking to level 9. I melted it all and ended up with 105 metal sheets, which brought my smithing to level 5. I finished building the last metal walls before the end of the day, although there were still some left to be upgraded. Day 88 sucked. I upgraded a couple of level 1 walls to level 2 and then went to the park to chop some trees for materials. But when I returned, I found a wall next to my generator broken with a lot of zombies around. Just when I thought I was done with the outer walls, I cleared them out and started rebuilding the broken frames. I built 2 more doors for easier access for perimeter checks. To the extra defense, I tried to park a couple of vehicles next to the walls, but new zombie groups kept on coming, trying to break my home. On day 89, I tried a little trick that used to work with generators. I built a small enclosed shed that should reduce the noise it was generating and attracting zombies. I then went back to the apartments to get more metal so I could repair the broken walls. When I returned, I was greeted with another zombie group who already broke the door to my new little shed. Clearly, it didn't work, so I just replaced the door with a metal wall and proceeded to rebuild the rest of the broken walls. At this point, it was clear I will not finish rebuilding the station by day 100, so I just wanted to make it as sturdy as possible. So on day 90, I set out to find dumpsters which I could use as additional defense next to my walls. I drove around searching for them and I was able to bring back 12 by the end of the day. I got into one big fight next to some apartments I've not explored before, and I realized there are still a lot of zombies hiding around in residential complexes. I reached level 80 next skill while fighting for the dumpster, and in the end I managed to sneak it away. I started day 91 by making metal sheets, and then I finally upgraded all metal walls to level 2 and got my metal working to level 10. To celebrate, I went out to grab more dumpsters and reached 40,000 kills fighting for them. Unfortunately, I also got scratched in my head due to a stupid mistake. Despite the scratch, I was able to bring back 8 dumpsters and 2 large fridges to beef up my walls even more. I started day 92 by heading out to grab more dumpsters. I soon ran into a massive horde of zombies and had to retreat back home, where I grabbed a pipe bomb and returned to the scene. Remember how I promised I'll never burn anything again? Yeah, that was a lie. I kited the burning zombies around, trying to keep them away from the buildings, but unfortunately, some of the dumpsters were destroyed in the fire. After killing around 1,000 zombies, I was able to save 3 dumpsters and went back home. In the evening, I scouted the area south of the police station to see if there was more I could grab. I went out to grab more dumpsters on day 93, but things quickly went south. I stumbled upon thousands of zombies in the apartments I scouted, and it was chaos. They were everywhere, even falling off the roof. It took a long fight, but I eventually managed to save my car and head back home. I returned on foot with a Desert Eagle and fired off a few shots to lead the zombies away. I should have brought a pipe bomb, but I didn't want to risk losing more dumpsters to fire, so I just escaped the horde and looped around to get back home. As day 94 dawned, I got to work on building more floors in the police station. I set out for the park to chop down more trees, and after a productive trip, I turned the logs into 180 planks and continued to work on building the new floors. I also finished the walls for a new workshop area. I started the day by heading to the burned down part of the police station. I gathered white tiles to build a corridor that would run straight through my base. I then went to the store for a couple more beige tiles to finish the garage. I also grabbed brown carpet for the workshop area, because who doesn't have a carpet in their workshop? I started day 96 by breaking down all the half-burned walls on the ground floor in the police station. I then went to a nearby area to chop down some trees. I checked on my little farm when I returned and noticed that the first harvest of broccoli was ready. I did not use any broccoli in my lunch, but I still got my cooking skill to level 7, which meant I could now use rotten food in my recipes. I hope it never comes to that. In the afternoon, I continued to build floors in what was to be a learning center and put up most of the walls. On day 97, I went to grab brown tiles for the learning center, because we all know any education rooms have to look as bleak as possible. I spent some time chopping down trees at the crossroads and brought back enough logs to finish building the walls of the learning center, and also build the floors for the corridor leading to the side entrance. Unfortunately, I ran out of nails at that point, so I used the remaining iron to make 160 new ones, which allowed me to finish building the walls of my future library. I went back to the crossroads on day 98 to chop more wood. Fighting a couple of stragglers there brought my maintenance to level 10, which was a huge milestone. With the logs I gathered, I finished building the frames in most walls of the library, but ran out of nails again. I went back to the apartments to find metal to melt, and on my way back home, I ran into a police officer who was actually carrying a whole generator on him. Looked like the zombies were also setting up a base nearby. I started day 99 by making 110 nails from the workable iron that got melted overnight. I then built the rest of the library walls. Next, I went to the houses nearby to gather birchwood floors for the library, which I spent the rest of the afternoon placing down, and my library was starting to look really cozy. As the day came to a close, I went to get some white tiles and finish the side corridor. And there it was. Day 100 had arrived, and I still had so much work to do on my station, but I didn't let that bring me down. I started planning for the future. First, I headed towards the Zippy Market near the distillery, clearing the way. That was a prime logging ground, and I wanted it free of zombies. I cleared the police blockade on my way there, and then used my car horn to attract a horde of zombies, which ended up being quite big, and I almost got myself killed when I fell and scratched my leg. Despite the setback, I was able to fight my way to the market and steal 3 new dumpsters. On my way back, I grabbed the generator from the police officer corpse, and I placed it and another one on the roof of the police station, which was enough to provide coverage for the whole place. I turned on the lights, illuminating the entire building that I still had to rebuild. So, I survived 100 days, but there was still so much to do. While my first goal of reaching 10,000 kills was easy to get and I crushed it completely, my second goal of holding the police station failed instantly when the zombies burned it down. And the rebuild goal failed as well, which means there will be 200 days video coming soon. And while you wait for it, check out how I survived for 10 years in Dwarf Fortress.